million UFO sightings are reported each year. Most can be debunked, but 5% remain unexplained. These are the close encounters. Jim Peniston is an American soldier based in England during the Cold War.
East Gate Control. Suspected aircraft down near base perimeter in Rendlesham Forest. Over.
I'm on my way.
Sergeant Peniston races towards Rendlesham Forest, the reported crash site.
Jim Peniston was head of security for the Woodbridge base, which was one of the 2 bases that were part of the Bentwaters complex. Peniston received a call that something had come down in the woods next door to the base, and he needed to go out and check it out.
The initial suspicion was that perhaps a civilian aircraft had crashed and started a fire.
There was a sense of urgency about it.
Confirming. 2 men to rendezvous at crash location. Over.
This is the height of the Cold War. The political atmosphere is tense, so the idea that you might be dealing with a Soviet or Warsaw Pact craft of some sort cannot be ruled out at this stage.
Peniston reaches the edge of Rendlesham Forest and meets the 2 men who saw the craft go down.
Stay with the vehicle. Maintain radio contact. Burrows with me now.
Airman Edward Kabansag and John Burrows.
Kabansag was told to stay back and man the radios. Burrows and Peniston went in to check it out.
In any aircraft crash, there are clear signs. There'll be the smell of aviation fuel, there'll be debris. None of this was present.
But 100 meters away, they see flickering lights.
John, of course, was familiar with aircraft and helicopters. The lights that he was seeing were not the normal navigation light colors. The initial theory that this was an aircraft accident no longer holds true. The critical question from a security point of view is, does this thing, whatever it is, pose a threat to the base?
As they move closer, the mission suddenly shifts from search and rescue to shoot on sight.
The fact that it was during the Cold War, of course, made people particularly sensitive to security issues.
All military bases are on constant alert for espionage, terrorism, or indeed anything unusual.
East Gate Control, how do you read? East Gate Control, do you copy? Over.
They started to lose their radio capabilities. They could no longer communicate.
And then suddenly, there's nothing in his frame of reference that's prepared him for this experience. It felt almost like a bolt of electricity firing through his body.
Sergeant Jim Peniston and Airman John Burroughs investigate a possible plane crash. But when they arrive on scene, they experience the unexplainable.
I've spoken to John and Jim about this. It's like they are there together investigating this, but there comes a point where they're not. It's strange. It's like there is a sense of separation. This is effectively a small, triangular-shaped craft, maybe about 9 feet high and the same across the base.
He felt the kind of electrical charge from the object, so he said he felt his hair kind of on end, his hair and his arms standing up. Jim gave me a very detailed description. It was very, very smooth, but it looked metallic.
It was pulsing, throbbing. It was almost organic.
No sign of wings or any kind of propeller, anything that could have propelled it, but it was just sitting there on the ground. And he knew this was something extremely unusual, was not an airplane.
Jim Peniston was a highly experienced member of the military. This guy is a real deep specialist when it comes to aircraft and drones. And when Jim says, no, this is not a Russian craft of any sort, you can take that to the bank.
One of the more striking things to him was these symbols that he saw on it. Nothing that resembled letters or numbers as we know them.
He likened them to Egyptian hieroglyphs.
At one point, he actually put his hand on it. He will never forget the moment that he did that.
It felt almost like a bolt of electricity firing through his body. Normally, when an object accelerates very rapidly, it passes through the sound barrier and you would get a sonic boom. With this, there's no sonic boom. This object, whatever it is silent.
Suddenly, Peniston notices that Burroughs is back.
They push on through the trees in pursuit of this object. There comes a point where they lose sight of this object.
Sergeant Peniston, do you read? What is your status? Over.
As the object disappears, their radios come back to life.
Copy. Returning to the vehicle now.
They decide at that point to return to base. This is a life-changing event. It's clear that even now, over 30 years after this event, it still haunts them.
Desperate for answers, Sergeant Peniston returns to Rendlesham Forest the next day. He finds scorch marks, broken branches, and triangular indentations in the ground where he claims the craft landed. A few days later, U.S. Air Force investigators sweep the area and uncover radiation levels much higher than normal. Sergeant Peniston is later informed by the photo lab at the base that none of his pictures came out. He's denied access to the negatives. In 1988, John Burroughs went under hypnosis. At that time, he told an investigator that he remembered being drawn towards a light and feeling disoriented. Peniston and Burroughs recently announced their intention to file a federal lawsuit against the Veterans Administration. They believe the Rendlesham incident has caused them chronic health problems. To this day, the American government refuses to speak publicly about the case.
What the hell is that?
What's all the commotion?
I don't know what's going on, but people may need our help.
We need to account for all flights down the eastern seaboard.
Nobody knows what's going on here.
Talk to my girlfriend again, you're dead.
I didn't mean anything by it, I swear.
Norm Smith and his friend leave the local dance sooner than planned.
That's a close one, Mom.
Norm Smith was a young fisherman. He was only 18 years old. Norm was driving back in a car with a friend from Cape Sable Island, from the community center there. This was a Wednesday night, and they were coming into Shag Harbour.
Perched on the southwestern tip of Nova Scotia, Shag Harbor is known as a quiet fishing village.
I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I've known Norm Smith for probably 20-odd years now.
What the hell is that?
What?
There.
Norm Smith gave us a good part of the story from his point of view about what happened that night. He said he saw an array of lights in a line.
Such a weird glow to it.
At that point, he didn't see shape, he just saw lights up in the sky, traveling parallel with the car as it went along Old Highway number 3.
I've never seen anything like it. It's this big orange, weird light.
First impression was that this was probably an airplane, or maybe it was an airplane. It looked odd, but he couldn't be sure at the time.
He didn't think it was a typical aircraft, but it could have been, in his mind, something a bit unusual, perhaps an aircraft in trouble, perhaps something that had one of its lights burned out or at an unusual angle.
I mean, what could it be?
I don't know. Maybe a plane crash or something.
Plane crash.
His friend drops Norm off at his house, but his night is far from over.
Just about that point, the Mounties from Barrington Passage passed them, and the lights flashing. The RCMP in the area were getting these phone calls from the people who lived around the harbor and the sound. In the space of about 5 minutes, the detachment had gotten about 5 phone calls saying that they thought they saw an airplane crashing into the harbor. Norm ran inside to get his uncle.
What's all the commotion?
I don't know what's going on, but people may need our help.
Let me grab my jacket.
So they thought, well, this could be a crashing airplane. We might be needed down there. Let's get ready and go down. And that's what they did. Norm arrived at the shore. By that time, there's 14, 15, 16 people there, including the Mounties. Everybody's standing there looking out at the water. I'm looking at this dark object out on the water with a pale yellow light on the top. This thing was pretty close to 1,500 feet away at that point. Nobody knows what's going on here.
Coast Guard, this is Shag Harbor. Do you read? Come in.
The RCMP calls for backup. They need someone out on the water. But before they can even finish their call, they're facing a full-on emergency.
What are we looking for here? And why can't we find it?
What the hell is that?
Norm Smith, along with dozens of other witnesses, watches a strange object hits the water off the coast of Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia.
They didn't know whether it had submerged or it had just lost power. At any rate, this was reason for concern. It was time to speed things up and let's get going here and see what's going on.
Check with RCC. We need to account for all flights down the eastern seaboard.
The corporal in charge, he got one of his constables to call Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax to see if they had any missing aircraft.
We'll follow up with the RCC and the Coast Guard, but maintain radio contact. In the meantime, we need you men out on the water. Got it? Got it.
These are people that look after one another, and if they think that there's somebody in danger out there on the water, they're going to do their best to help them.
Right. All right. Yeah.
Some of the people, including Norm Smith, got on two of the boats that were called out, and they went out on the water to go out on the Sound to look for what they thought might be wreckage or survivors. Norm Smith told me that, he was quite upset when he went out. He was only 18 years old, and he didn't know what he was going to be seeing, bodies floating around the water, that sort of thing.
They don't find bodies or wreckage. Instead, they discover something much stranger.
The captain of the first boat called across and said, what do you make of this? He said, I don't know what it is, but I don't much like it. But they sailed into it anyway. And they tried to take samples of some foam that was on the water. It's about 4 inches thick, glittery yellow, smelled of sulfur. It wasn't sea foam. They'd never seen anything like it before. The thinking at the time was maybe it was some byproduct of aircraft fuel or jet fuel interacting with seawater. But of course it wasn't. It doesn't do that.
Rescue Boat 2, be advised. RCC confirms no missing aircraft in this sector.
There was no aircraft missing. There was no military aircraft missing, commercial or private aircraft. So at that point, everybody's wondering, well, what are we looking for here? And why can't we find it?
Some believe the object didn't crash. It took a dive beneath the waves, as if on a mission.
A USO is an unidentified submerged object, and a UUO is an unidentified underwater object. There's simply another way of saying an object that we simply can't identify, except these ones were in the water. There actually have been a number of studies suggesting that UFOs are attracted to water, or if aliens are involved, maybe they're interested in water for one reason or another.
Norm continued to search right up until about 3:30 in the morning. He had been up for basically 36 hours.
When the search comes up empty, Norm Smith and other witnesses decide to go public with their story.
Shag Harbor was a very small community at the time, maybe 600 people living there, and everybody knows everybody else. They're down-to-earth people. These are people that work on the sea, one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. They don't need to make up stories. They've got stories in abundance.
But the question remains, what disappeared into the ocean off Shag Harbor? The search for an answer triggers an extensive underwater investigation. 2 days after the incident, the Canadian Navy dispatches a team of divers to scour the seafloor off Shag Harbour. With so many witnesses, the media quickly gets hold of the story. Cold War fears lead to speculation that the strange lights may have been some kind of Soviet military spycraft. The official government report concludes that no object or craft of any kind is ever found. But years later, some of the divers who searched the site refute the official report, claiming they did see wreckage of an unknown origin.